Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. Very special video because we have a guest, none other than Sean from SW Studio Productions. How you doing, Sean?
Well, thank you. Good to be on this channel.
Great, Sean. Great to have you. Now, Sean's a big Bowie fan like myself. So what we've decided to do is a bit of an album war between David Bowie's Never Let Me Down in 1987, often regarded as one of his worst albums. And we're putting that up against David Bowie's Never Let Me Down, the 2018 remake. Now, it's not a remix, it's not a remaster. All the instruments were taken apart, and Reeves Gabrels was put in charge of really creating a new album because I believe Bowie didn't like the Never Let Me Down album. In fact, he disliked it that much, he took one of the songs off it, which was originally on the 87 version called Too Dizzy, and he refused to let any reissues have that song on it, which is a shame because I didn't think it was as bad as he thought. The lyrics were a bit dodgy, but the music was okay, just. Okay, so the actual album was released in May 1987 and hit number 6 in the charts, which is not a great performance for Bowie considering his last album, Tonight, hit number 1. It itself was, the sales, I think, were in the back of the very successful Let's Dance. So Bowie in the 80s took his toll a little bit, and 16 weeks in the charts is not a great performance either for a David Bowie album. However, I remember getting this at the time on the first week of release, possibly the first day, and thinking after the first play, it was his best album since Diamond Dogs. Now remember, this is 1987, but after about 3 or 4 plays, I thought this is not as good as I thought it was. And then I was going off to college and I did a mixtape of Bowie material and I put a few Never Let Me Down songs on it. And they sounded terrible compared to anything else I had put on that. So it went from hero to zero very quickly for me. What about yourself, Sean? When did you first hear the album? When did you buy it? And just any stories you've got on it?
Well, it's yeah, that's quite a good story, actually. I'll tell you this. This was actually my gateway into David Bowie in 2018.
Goodness, my goodness.
Yeah. So
So
what happened was, sorry to cut you off there, but what happened was there was a track. It was just hearing a bit of Time Will Crawl because I was watching one of the snippets from the documentaries, you know, the little mini documentaries they were doing. I heard a bit of that and I thought it sounded so different to what I'd heard from Bowie before. So Ziggy and other tracks, Changes, all those famous tracks everyone knows. It just sounded so different, and I kind of got intrigued. And I heard the song and thought, that sounds pretty good. And then it was a while later after like watching a few things at the time, like the Glastonbury performance that they aired, and later buying Heroes, which was what literally made me go, oh my God, I think I need to get into this artist and just get the rest of it. And there you go. That's the story in short. Yeah.
okay, well, what we'll do is we'll go through each track. We will not include Too Dizzy because there is no rework. I wish there was actually, but there's not. And what we'll do is we'll say which version we prefer the most. And then at the end, there's 10 tracks in total. We'll tot them up and see which album wins. However, I know what album wins because I've done it already, and you know which album for you wins.
I've done it already.
But I will ask you one question at the very end and see if you agree with me or not. Okay, the very first track is Day In, Day Out. Now, this was a single. This was actually the first single which was released before the album in 1987. And it reached a decent 17 in the charts. It's got a dreadful video of him going around in roller skates, which are terrible. Now, I compare this to the new one. I think there's not an awful lot of difference in the two.
True, I can agree there.
However, I do think that the bass has been reduced in the 2018 remake. I do think that the bass is more prominent in the original. And if you listen to the bass, it is actually quite similar. Believe it or not, check it out to Let's Dance. But the song itself is nowhere near as good as Let's Dance, although it has
absolutely not.
absolutely, it's gone up in my estimations. I used to not actually like this, but I had to buy it because it was the new Bowie single. But it's now one of my favorites of the album. I think the guitar sounds on the new one is more actually 90s than 80s. I don't think it's very contemporary for 2018. And I think that's to do with Reeves Gabrels, who's living in the 90s, really. But if I'm going to pick one of the two, I'm sticking with the original.
Well, I'm going to have to differ from you there, Richard. I will have to say, on listen, I thought the original mix was nothing special, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I just preferred the newer mix a bit more for some reason. It kind of enjoyed listening to it more. So yeah, there's mine.
I will admit that with most of these, it's really interesting to hear the actual new remake, but that doesn't mean to say that I prefer it, but it's really nice to hear it and a different take on it. Okay, the second song was the second single, Time Will Crawl, which only managed number 33 in the charts. Now, this is the one that you like.
Yeah.
The new version is actually, I believe, the 2008 I Select version. Yeah. Oh, you've got the freebie Daily Mail one, haven't you?
Yeah, I got it from a charity shop.
Yeah. I actually bought it was given a full release and jewel case and back cover and so forth. I bought it, but it was actually quite expensive at the time. So I think it's exactly the same. Now it's very acoustic compared to the original. The original is very in the 80s. It's got a very 80s sound. This acoustic version, I don't like at all because I think the acoustic guitar sounds so synthetic. It just does not sound natural. It doesn't sound organic. It's too trebly. I just don't, I've never liked it. And so I am giving this again to the original.
Well, I'm going to say, unfortunately, I have to disagree with you there. As much as I love the original and it was what got me into Bowie, it's what sort of like triggered me to sort of go and check out more. I absolutely love the 2018 mix, probably because it was the first sort of like bit of it I heard. So I really enjoy it more. I just really think it's so well done. I love the opening with the guitar. I love the violins on it. Just everything is so great about the song, in my opinion. I just really love it. And I still get chills when I play it to this day. Just a great song. So I prefer the 2018 mix.
Oh, that's fair enough. I can see us disagreeing here the whole way through. Okay, the third one is Beat of Your Drum. Now, there's almost psycho style violin string shrieks throughout this on the new one.
Yes.
And the guitar is really to the fore, especially in the chorus. The original, I like the background sense of the original, and I like the chorus sax, which seems to be missing on the new one. They're both very good. The guitar is more in the chorus for the new one, whereas the original is the sax, which sort of harks back to me to like a pin-up type era.
Yeah.
I prefer the original, I'm afraid, again.
Fair enough, Richard. I mean,
I think a lot of this is to do with me being used to the original over, because I've lived with it for how many years? Before this came out, that was 31 years, wasn't it? 87.
Yeah.
So, so it's, but there is another reason, which I'm going to give at the end.
All right.
I'm going original.
No worries, Richard. I really like the original version. I think it's pretty good. The horns are really good. The horn section in like the middle bit of the song reminds me of Glory Days by Bruce Springsteen a bit.
Exactly.
So yeah, really enjoy it. I really like the remix as well. I like the strings on it. I think the strings throughout the album are really good because I'm going to mention this again at another point probably. And I like the guitar by whoever it is, David Thorne or Reeves, because I know they both play on the album. But so it's quite a hard decision to sort of make. But I'm just going to go with, do you know what? I'll go with the 2018 version.
So we've completely disagreed so far, which is fine.
Oh, no.
Okay, the next one is Never Let Me Down, which was the third final single. Now, there's so many different versions of this. Like, there's a US single version, which is actually very good, but we're going
All
with
right.
the album version. And this
Yeah.
got to number 34 in the charts. And I remember buying this from the cheapie box. I had never bought a Bowie single from the cheapie box before. I always got it and paid full price. But I wasn't happy that this was released as a single, although it has gone up a little bit in my estimations. The new version has got a real deeper guitar sound to it. And I think that's a real plus. And I think that the chorus has got a
Oh.
heavy guitar sound as well with the new one. The original is very synth heavy, and it's almost wispy and very twee, I think. I don't like the harmonica in either of them. I wish Reeves had taken that out completely, but he didn't. Maybe it's not quite to the fore, but in this case, I'm going to give it to the new version.
All right, I'm going to completely differ from you there because I absolutely love the original version. I think it's one of his most underrated songs in my opinion. I think it's one of his best ballads. I absolutely love it. To me, the remix is just missing something. I don't know what, but it just doesn't have the same effect as the original. So I'm going to go with the original version.
My goodness, we've completely disagreed. I think we will agree with this one. And the next one is the last song on side one, which is Zeros.
Yeah.
The good thing about the new one is that they have taken out the crowd noise at the start, which I never liked. And they've made it a lot more acoustic. And I just think it sounds much better. It was actually released as a single before the box set came out on picture disc.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So for me, it's vastly improved. So I'm going to give it to the new one.
I totally agree with you there, Richard. I mean, I like the original version. It's a decent track, but probably because the 2018 one was the one I first heard, I prefer it. I just love the sound of it. I mean, the beginning of the track, like the first, like sort of half of it, very reminiscent of something of Hunky Dory.
Yeah, I suppose you could say that. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit, you know. But yeah, I love this version. It's just a great version. Really works in my opinion. So yeah, there we go. My preferred version is 2018 version.
And we finally agree on one.
Yes.
Okay, we flip over the vinyl side and we get,
Yep.
I'll say, by the way, the actual vinyl version, the original vinyl version had quite a few edits on it. I prefer them to the longer versions. Again, it's what I was used to. I bought the vinyl LP in 1987. I didn't buy the CD. Well, I didn't start buying CDs until about 1991, and it must have been about 93 or 4 when I got a copy of the original CD. And I thought, bloody hell, these were far, far too long for such a bad album. But anyway, Glass Spider opens up side 2. Now, I hate the spoken introduction to this.
All right.
This is no future legend.
Absolutely.
This is just embarrassing. It really is. Now, I've seen him in concert do this in 90 when he came down from the Glass Spider. And I'm just going, no. But anyway, so the both of them have. I'm so disappointed that Reeves didn't clear that and start a new sort of opening for the song, because this song is my favorite off the album. I think the original is a great dance track.
Yeah.
I think it should have been actually the original single, the first single. I think the album should have been named Glass Spider. It is really, really good. Now, the new version has got a very gothic feel to it. And for me, it's not a patch on the original. So the original gets it for me.
Yeah, agreed. I actually don't mind the spoken word intro on the original. And I really like the guitar solo as well towards the end. I think it's really good. But I mean, the new version, it just doesn't work for me. I like the style of music because it's used on I'm Afraid of Americans, of course, similar style. But it just doesn't work for me for that track. So I'm going to have to say the original. Glass Spider.
Good. We agree on that one as well. We're getting through this rightly.
Good.
Okay, Shining Star. Now, this is a very lightweight pop song from the 1980s.
Yeah.
It was actually, I'm a bit of a pop fan. It was one of the first ones I grabbed onto because I really liked it. Mickey Rourke was such a huge star. To have him rap was so
Yeah.
cool. Now it's so embarrassing. I'm not too sure who does the rap on the new one. But the new one more or less has the bass more to the fore. And it's sort of, I think the old one was more dance orientated. This one is slightly more rock orientated.
Yeah.
I just think it improves. The new one improves over the old one, but it's still not a fantastic song. You know, it's gone down for me from being up there at the very start to, no, it's not good at all. But I will go for the new version.
Yeah, I agree. This is not a great track. Probably my least favorite track on the LP, actually, if we're just doing these tracks. Yeah, I mean, I did make a silly pun by saying more like shitting star on my original notes. And I'm not a fan of the rap by Mickey Rourke, I mean, to be honest. So the 2018 version, however, it's slightly better, I'd say. It's a decent listen. I like the spoken word part, which is by Laurie Anderson, by the way.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it works. It's an all right track. You know, it's not brilliant, but you know. So yeah, I'm going to go with the 2018 version of Shining Star.
Right. Okay. So we agree on that. Number 8, New York's in Love. That's an awful song. Always was an awful song, and it was one of his worst he's ever recorded to this date. I hate the call and response of the verses on the original. I think the new one, again, has got a heavier sound, and it takes him from a goddamn awful song to a slightly awful song. So it's always been my worst on the album. Even when Too Dizzy was on it, New York's in Love, couldn't stand it. It's a little bit better now. I'm giving it to the new version, but that doesn't say much.
Well, I actually quite like this song. I like listening to it, actually, both versions. So, I mean, I like the backing vocals on the original version. I think they're pretty good. It's an all right track, to be honest. But with the remix, I like it. It's a good rocking version. I quite enjoy it. So I'm going to give this to the remix version.
There we go again. So we agree.
Yeah.
Okay. One of my favorites from the start was 87 and Cry. And looking back, this was sort of pre-Tin Machine. I think this was the closest. I actually remember going away to Jersey for a working holiday in 1989, and I had just bought the Tin Machine album and I taped it on a C60 and I had enough room left for a couple more tracks. And I remember putting 87 and Cry on it because I thought it was the closest, you would get to that album. I do like it. I think there's very, very little difference in it, but I would tend to give it to the new version because I think it's just a little bit more beefier. And so that's all I can say about it. Slightly, very Tin Machine, as I said, but just slightly more beefier. So I'm going to give it to the new one.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I can't believe we must have a sort of same minds think alike thing, Richard, because I definitely got the Tin Machine vibe from the 87 version, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I actually don't mind this track. I think it's all right. But I do prefer the 2018 remix, and it vaguely reminds me of Reality.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does. It's got that right. So we again. No, there's the normal LP. This is where Too Dizzy would come in. What do you think of the song Too Dizzy?
I listened to it in preparation yesterday. Not a big fan of it. Didn't really like it.
It's not brilliant, but do you think it should still be on the album?
To be honest, I'm quite glad it isn't.
No, I think it should be. I don't think he should have touched it. If he's got New York's in Love in there, so why not?
Right, okay.
Okay, you think New York's in Love is bad, but the next one is the cover, and the last one is the cover of the Iggy Pop song Bang Bang, which first came out in 1981 on Iggy's Party album. It's not a bad album. That's Iggy's pop album, I think, and this is rather poppy. I do not like the spoken intro on the original at all. This was a single in some territories as well. I can't believe it.
Really?
Yes, and it is, how would I put it? Crap. It's a crap song. I don't know. He was just giving money to Iggy. He did the same with Tonight and Let's Dance, but he could have picked far better songs to do. The new one is the most radical remix. So obviously, Reeves Gabrels thought the original was crap as well, and this has got like your violin, and it's almost got that psycho violin shriek to it.
Yeah.
Transforms it into a half decent song. It really does. And there's some really, really good guitar in it. So this is the revelation of the album for me, is Bang Bang. It takes it from absolute dire straits to a pretty good song. And so without a shadow of a doubt, the new one gets it for me.
Well, yeah, again, I'm going to agree with you there, Richard. I mean, the original is, when listening to it again last night, I just thought, yeah, it's just nothing. It's all right, I guess, but it's nothing special, really. It's just, I mean, I love the Iggy version, really love the Iggy version. But yeah, the 2018 version is really good. I really enjoy it. Love the strings on the track. Love the guitar. Yeah, way better than the 87 version.
It's a radical change as well. There's no little
Yes.
subtle differences. It's a complete change. Well, for this one, it seems that for you, without a shadow of doubt, 8 points to 2 is the new 2018 rework.
Yep.
And for me, it's the same, believe it or not, but it's 6 points to 4. Now, what I will say, I think side 1, I prefer the original, and side 2 overall. Apart from Glass Spider, I prefer the remake.
I agree. Yeah.
So now the big well, before I ask the question, I will say I do have a beef with this, is Bowie's vocals. Obviously, they're exactly the same as they are in the 1987 version. And to me, it sounds as if they've been planted on there a little bit like a foreign body in a foreign recording. Now, I wish before he had passed, he was able to give new vocals, but this wasn't done. He always said he wanted to redo it, but he never did. And I don't think his vocals work quite as well with the new version as they do with the original. I think I'm just used to hearing the original, and the new version, they sound weak. I would have preferred his voice to be slightly deeper the way it was just before he passed. And I think it would have made it a much better album. So if you were to only able to own one version, which one would you keep and which one would you give away?
That's a really good question, Richard. Oh, don't worry, won't be here for 100 hours. Don't worry. I'm going to have to say, really, although the 2018 version was the first one I sort of heard bits of, it's got to be the original.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I would always keep the original. The remake is good to hear. It's interesting to hear, but I still always go back to the original because that's the way it came out. That's what I grew up with as well. Like, I was 21 years old when that album was released. As I say, loved it at the start, and within 2 weeks thought it was a pile of crap. But next question is, which do you prefer? Never Let Me Down or Tonight?
Never Let Me Down all the way.
Yeah. Right. The thing I do like about Never Let Me Down is that there's only one cover version on it. That was the first thing I checked when I bought that album, is to see who wrote the songs. Because I bought Tonight on the day of release, and it took me quite a while to actually like, because I thought, this is not very accessible, which always meant that this could be a really, really good album. So I really worked hard on Tonight, and to me, Tonight every time is my favorite. Even though there's so many cover versions, I'm still a Tonight fan
Fair play to you, Richard.
It takes me back to 1984, and
Yeah.
that takes me back to 1987, and 1987 was a bit of a dodgy year. So there we go. Yeah, that was fun. I
It
was
was
going to,
great.
yeah, I was going to do this on my own until you suggested let's do a dual video, and I thought, yeah, why not? And it was great. So
Yeah.
we've come to the conclusion, right? Is that we will keep the original, even though song by song the remake is better.
Yeah.
And then the last question, and I think we'll agree here, which
All
is
right.
which has got the better cover.
Oh, no brainer, Richard. We both know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very sure about that. I never liked this. I always thought it was cheap and nasty.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. So okay. Folks, that's us for now. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to have another video soon. Please check out Sean's channel. I'll put a link below, SWS Studio Productions, and watch his last video. He's got some really good finds. Okay, thanks for coming along, Sean. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
No worries, Richard. It's a pleasure as always.
A happy new year to you.
You too, mate. All right.
Cheers. All the best now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.